المعصومين الذين ذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن يبتغي غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله
I
وبركاته.
mentioned this is the second majlis in this series of majalis in this Muharram, and the first of Muharram al-Haram as we officially enter into this month. Last night in the Tamhidi and the discussion, which was just a preliminary discussion in order to enter into this month as an istiqbal, and inshallah from tonight we will try to focus on the topic that has been chosen for this year's talk. I recited this verse from Surah Al-Imran, ayat number 85, and I was briefly able to address some of the points from this ayat. As far as the explanation of the topic is concerned, the topic is understanding the objectives of Karbala. Understanding the objectives of Imam Hussein. As to Imam ﷺ, who stood up 14 centuries ago, and he is a divine chosen Imam, successor of the Prophet, who is also divinely chosen Prophet. His actions, his amal, are different than the actions and amal of ordinary human beings. While Imam would live a life of a simplicity, a life which others can adhere, adopt, and follow Imam on, but he is on a mission given to him by God Almighty. In fact, our aqidah is that Rasulullah, Rasulullah, who is sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Khatimul Anbiya, the seal of all of the Anbiya, he also does not have any say in who would be his successor. And that successorship was given to him, announced, relayed, and then he announced it to the public. And that is our aqidah. In fact, when it comes to the ahkam, it's not like we're strong holding Rasulullah's arm or we're limiting his abilities. No, that is not the case. It just shows you how pure the religion is. That he does not have say in many things. He cannot make up things. He cannot alter the ahkam. He cannot go on his whim to go ahead and say whatever he wants to. Everything is in precise manner given to him as a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thus he relays it to the people, and therefore the imamat and any other ahkam that come after that are all because of him. I would request all the brothers sitting by the door, if you can get up and move over here right in front, so that when people walk in, they don't have to cross you over with a loud down salawat. All of you.
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
One more loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali
who's not allowed to change 2 rakat salat to 3 rakat salat, who's not allowed to change the dynamics of a fast, which has become obligatory, then you think with all of these ahkamat that he's not allowed to change, which he wouldn't. I'm using the word allowed just so that you and I can understand. We talked about the maqam of Risalat. Last night's discussion when Rasulullah ascended to Mi'raj. And when people say that he is bashar like us, as the ayat of the Quran says, innahu, that he is ana basharun mitlukum, that I am a bashar and a person like you, people misunderstood this. And started thinking that Rasulullah is like us. Yamshi fil aswaq, he walks into the markets. Ya'kul, he eats just like you and I. And there's no difference between us and him. All of these things so that you and I can follow him. But have any one of you ascended to Mi'raj? Has any one of you performed the miracles that Prophet possessed? Can any one of you even imagine the miracles that Hazrat Isa perform? Or Hazrat Musa was able to perform? When you and I cannot even reach the other Anbiya as far as their abilities are concerned, how can you compare yourself to? The seal of Anbiya, the Khatm al-Nubuwwat, the one who possesses all of the karamat, and the one who possesses all of the kamalat of all of the Anbiya that lived before it. And much more beyond that. So when he doesn't change anything, he doesn't say anything out of his own whims, as the ayat of the Quran, you've heard a great deal, مَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ, that he doesn't say anything out of his own. Everything that he says is the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it comes to his amal and his actions, Allah is taking responsibility. مَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. Oh Prophet, you didn't throw those pebbles when you were throwing those pebbles. We were the ones who were throwing those pebbles. So the amal of Rasul is the amal of Allah. The word of Rasul is the word of Allah. And he does exactly what Allah asks him to do. For him to go ahead and appoint a successor, would that be out of question? Would that be a question for someone to go ahead and ask Rasulullah, is this from you or is this from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? With that understanding, that Prophet and the Imams, this is our aqidah as you mentioned, that they are divinely chosen. And when they are, Imam Hussein's duty and his amal and his actions are also divine. Don't think that he made any rash decisions, that he did not pay heed. We left at this juncture last night when we got into the Masaib, and inshallah we'll resume those Masaib tonight from that point on, where Imam is now being given, consultation on what to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Imam is allowed to seek the counsel of the people. Just like Quran tells Rasulullah to go and seek the counsel of the people. But he is going to choose the best of those, mashwaras and the consultation that he received. But nonetheless, Imam is being given the counsel over here. That, oh, Hussein, if you want to go, you go alone. Why are you bringing your family? Oh, Hussein, don't go towards Kufa, go in another direction. Why do you have to go to Kufa, for example? Oh, Hussein, don't go. Rather, go ahead and give bay'at to Yazid. And all these other different opinions that were given to Sayyid al-Shuhada. He did not get agitated. He did not become furious. In fact, he responded to all of these, opinions that people had presented to him. Some of them were given to him by his family members, just out of the fear. But he was told by Salma, he was told by Muhammad Hanafiya, he was asked by Abdullah ibn Jafar Tayyab and others who were the family members, out of fear for Imam's life, that he shouldn't undertake this journey. He shouldn't go, for example. Or when others Like Abdullah ibn Abbas is telling Imam salam not to go. There's a maqsad and there's a reason behind it. Abdullah ibn Zubair also tells Imam not to go, but apparently his heart is saying no, Imam should go. Why? Because he wants to be the next Khalifa. And as long as Imam Hussein and Abdullah ibn Zubair are both in the same town of Makkah, he has a very difficult time announcing his Khilafah. Who is going to come and pay allegiance to Abdullah ibn Zubair in the presence of Imam Hussein? So therefore, he actually wants Imam to go, but he still tells him the same thing which others are telling. And then one individual goes to the extent, look at the audacity, tells Imam ﷺ, this is Abdullah ibn Umar, that Imam or Hussein, don't go. In fact, not only you shouldn't go, you should pay allegiance to Yazid. You know, taqiyatan. I hope that's what he meant. Then who's going to go ahead and say that you did it with wholeheartedly? You know, taqiyya is allowed. Mu'min Ali Fir'aun did taqiyya. Katama iman, he hid his iman. So there's precedent. You can go ahead and do the same thing. If I can once again, last time, request all of you to please move forward, as there are people standing over there, and it's very difficult for them to walk. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi wa sallam. One more loud salawat.
Just move from here or there.
So he was told that, hey, why? You don't really need to believe in this. We know that you don't believe in it. We all know the character of Yazid. Sharib al-Khamr. He's Qasim. He's all that. He takes the lives of Nafs al-Muhtarama and does all those bad things, evil deeds. We know that this bay'at of yours would not be a real bay'at, but go ahead and do it. Just so that you can save your life and to save the life of your family. Here, Maulana informs them of something where there's a difference between Imam and Ghayr Imam. Informs them of something where there's a difference between a divinely chosen leader and an ordinary individual. You don't know what is ahead. He said, if not today, tomorrow, they will come and take my life. Imam entered the city of Makkah al-Mukarramah on the third day of Shawwal. The reason for Imam's arrival in Makkah is what? Because Imam want to find a sanctuary. Even in the time of Jahiliyyah, people would seek refuge in the city of Makkah. Makkah was sanctuary for people. And the sacredness of the city. Imam enters, leaves the city of Medina. But here Imam is living peacefully. For about 3.5 months, Imam stays in the city of Makkah. And in the meantime, while Imam is being asked by different locations, you say, why did Imam go to Kufa? Well, at least the people of Kufa, you say all you want about them and against them, they were the ones who invited Imam. The other places didn't invite Imam. So if at least you give this much credit to the people of Kufa, then at least they were the ones who invited Imam. And Imam sent his deputies, ambassadors, Safir, Muslims, to find out what the reality is. Here we find that Imam is in the city of Makkah. The month of Shaban goes by. After Shaban, Imam enters the city on the 3rd of Shaban. Then you have the Ramadan. 15th of Ramadan, Muslim goes to Makkah, to Kufa. Then you have Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah. In the month of Dhul Hijjah. 8th day of Dhul Hijjah. Here Imam is informed that Yazid has sent some 30 people to go ahead and kill Imam in Makkah. This plot to kill Imam, look at this. is so sacred that you're not even allowed to kill a mosquito there in the Haram of Makkah. In the city of Makkah, you're not allowed to hunt any other animal. In the city of Makkah, taking the life of an animal entails kafara. Yet these people are ready to kill the Nabas al-Rasul, the grandsons. That's the tragedy. 30 men are sent in disguise. Because people are coming from all different places to perform what? Marasim al-Hajj. Yes, the Muslim of Hajj. People are coming from all directions to go ahead and do Hajj. It's very difficult to recognize who's who. And so in disguise, these 30 people come, sent by Yazid, to go ahead and kill Imam Hassan. And Yazid would have an easy alibi. Because, as I mentioned, Abdullah ibn Zubair is already looking to challenge Yazid, and he's already looking to establish himself as the Khalifa. He can put the blame on Abdullah ibn Zubair. That Abdullah ibn Zubair was behind the killing of Imam Hussein, and because of that, he can also kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. 2 birds with 1 stone. And therefore, he would have gotten rid of 2 of those 3 people that he had sent initially seeking their allegiance. Remember last night? We talked about it. After the death of Muawiyah, Yazid sends a letter to the Wali of Medina, his cousin, Walid ibn Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan, to go out and seek allegiance from 3 people. Among them, Abdullah ibn Zubair, Abdullah ibn Umar, and Imam Hussein. We know what Abdullah ibn Umar did. Because he's telling Imam Hussein to go ahead and pay allegiance. We know what he did. But Abdullah ibn Zubair fled, and similarly, Imam Hussein also left Medina. So this was the plan, this was the plot, to go ahead and kill, take them both out. Imam, as you read the ayat of Quran, and this ayat was recently shared a lot on social media. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They plan, and Allah plans. And Allah is the best of the planners. They were planning to kill Imam. And by killing Imam in Makkah, they would have suppressed, they would have taken him out, the movement would have stopped over there, and the blame would not even have gone to Yazid. Even today, when we all know the history is so loud and clear that Yazid is the one responsible for killing Imam Hussein, there's so many doubts in the mind of the people. Because so many people are so doubtful that Yazid had anything to do with it. You ask them a question, they say, well, I can't say Yazid was involved in it. So that's hard to understand this. If this had happened, it would have been impossible. So now I'm realizing this, on the 8th day of Dhul-Hijjah, Imam decides to leave Makkah and go in the direction where he had received the invitations. The reason was that his movement would diminish and stop if he was killed in the city of Makkah. Number 2, if he got killed in Makkah, he didn't want the sacred land of Makkah to be desecrated, even though with the pure and sacred blood of Imam Hussein. And there were questions that were raised. As I said, some of the well-wishers, right? Abdullah ibn Jafar, such as Muhammad Hanafiya, Salma, who were genuinely concerned for Imam, they told Imam to not go and to leave the family here. Why are you taking your young children and female folks from your household? To which Imam responded, who should I leave them? Who is going to be looking after them after me? If I leave it unto you, I'll be constantly worried about them. And it is possible that they are made captives before I even arrive at my destination. And the obvious understanding that you and I have of why Imam took his family is because even if Imam is killed outside of Makkah, which he was in the plains of Karbala, nobody knows where Karbala is at that time, then Imam's message would have died within his soul. The fact that he brings his family along, the fact that Zainab and Kulthum are with him, is so that the message of Sayyid al-Shuhada can travel far and other places. That is why the poet has said it so beautifully, Hadith-e-Ishq, do babas, Karbala wa Dimashq, Yeki Hussain, Rakamgar, Digari Zainab. The two sections of this hadith, one is written by Hussain, the other one is written by Zainab. The one written by Hussain is up until Karbala. The second one, which is documented by Zainab, is after Karbala. So Muhammad brings Zainab, Kulthum, and other family members because of their fiery speeches, because of their bayanat. People will understand that what happened in Karbala should not just remain something that people don't find out ever. So this is just a background, historical background from where we left off. The point that I was trying to get to is that Imam ﷺ makes all of his plans based on wisdom and hikmah. The plans of Imam are not hasty or out of his whims. Imam ﷺ is not making any plans which are irrational. None of those plans were irrational. So don't sit by the door. There's still a lot of room work here. Yes, we'll blow one more time as we were trying to. As far as he said, there I have no style. So with that background, let me bring you back to the ayat that I have presented. The ayat that I have shared with you, and our topic, as we mentioned, is about the objectives of Imam al-Salam. One of the objectives that we have mentioned under this ayat that I recited for you, Al-Imran, ayat number 85. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That whoever follows a religion other than Islam. This is what we talked about last night, just trying to recap. I emphasized a great deal on the word yabtaghi. I promise I won't emphasize on that anymore because I hope you still remember that. But those who weren't here last night, Allah did not use the word yabtaghi because the meaning could have been the same. But yabtaghi had a distinction that whoever adheres to the religion after Islam had come to them, right? Now it makes a difference. When you are informed of something, and even after being informed, you still go astray, kind of like, it says during the winter time, you see many of the roads are slippery, and the cautions and there are signs on the road which is telling the driver to be careful, not to drive too fast. It's slippery conditions. You might get into an accident, but you still see people get into an accident. Now, a person may have been very careful. Someone else bumped into them. That's not the story. But if you yourself disregard all of these cautions that are there and still get into this accident, then you're responsible for that. Same thing is over here. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the religion, when He has informed you of the ahkam, and you still knowledge is kind of very critical. At one point, you don't know something and you do it. You do it. You didn't know the ahkam of fasting. You broke the fast. At a certain time, you weren't aware of the ahkam properly. You will not be held accountable for that. If you don't know the mas'ala and you go ahead and make that mistake, you're not committing a sin. But when you do know the mas'ala and you still don't follow it, that's where the problem lies. You're aware. And that's why riwayat are so severe when it comes to ulama and juhala. One of my favorite riwayat in this regard is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will try 70 juhala before he tries one alim. Meaning what? 70 juhala, ignorant, will be given a free pass until one of the ulama is given. Let me rephrase it so that you understand it better. Allah will forgive 70 ignorant before he forgives one alim. Why? 70 were forgiven because they didn't know and they acted. That one alim knew and he didn't act. Does it become a responsibility? You know, you have the knowledge, and yet you don't pay attention to it, and you don't pay heed to it, and because of that, you perform that amal. That's why ayat of Quran is clear in this regard. لِمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you say things that you do not perform yourself? كَبُرَ مَقْتًا. It is indeed abhorrent in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you say things that you yourself are not doing it. It's easy for me to sit here and tell you this is haram, that is haram, yet myself is indulging into those activities. It will not have any effect on you. Same is over here when Allah said, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا. Whoever follows a religion other than Islam, after Islam had come to them. Let me reinforce this, backing it up with another ayat of Quran, which is known to all of you. Surah Al-Imran, ayat number 61 or 64. The ayat of Mubahala. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. If they argue with you after ilm had come, if they argue with you after ilm had come, meaning what? Knowledge has been given to them. Ilm has been provided to them, that they're still arguing with you. Who are these people? This ayat is in regards to the Christians of Najran. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. If they argue with you after knowledge had come, what is this ilm? Quran. Quran came, knowledge came, Rasulullah informed them. Yet because of their stubbornness, they don't want to follow. They don't want to listen. And plus, it is very difficult for one who has been following a particular set of doctrines to let go of it and denounce it, saying that it is something which is wrong. It's very difficult. You know, this is where we need to praise those who walk into the realm of Islam. Those who leave their families, those who leave their faith, those who leave their religions. It's not easy for them to make this move. Not just their family is against them, the society is against them. Yet they make this. And then sometimes these people become better Muslims and mu'mineen than those who take it for granted like you and I. So I said, فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. But here is the punchline. That if they argue after ilm had come to you, what is this ilm? This Quran is the ilm. Here I want to repeat. Quran is the ilm. We say Hasbuna Kitabullah. No, we don't believe in Hasbuna Kitabullah. We don't say that the book of Allah is sufficient. The book of Allah is not sufficient. The book of Allah says itself, مَا فَرَّطْنَا. We did not leave anything out of this kitab. وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. There's not a wet or dry that is not found in Kitab But it's still with that fact intact. You can hear me. You can hear me. It's just the sisters who will be able to hear me. That with this fact intact, we understand how when they don't believe after the Quran has been sent, and we've been saying it all along, Quran by itself is not sufficient. Quran requires the one who can explain it. Quran itself is telling you that, literally, in this ayah. That when Quran came, they still argued, what do you do, O Prophet? فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَذْرُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ نِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ أَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. When they don't believe in this ayat of Quran, these ahkam, which are clear cut, then you need to step up the game. You need to step up. What do you need to reinforce it with? You need to reinforce it with the Ahlul Bayt. Literally, that's what this ayat of Quran is saying. Is there anyone else misdaq of Abna, Nisa, and Anfus? Go ahead and read any tafsir. Some muta'assib mufassirin have left out the Anfus part by saying that Amir al-Mu'mineen was in Yemen at that time. He wasn't even in Medina at that time. But still, they don't deny that Abna refers to Hassan and Hussein, Nisa refers to Sayyid al-Zahra, and majority refers that the Anfusna refers to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Literally, that if Quran is not enough and these people are arguing with you, go ahead and present them the Quran natiq in the form of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu. They're the ones who are going to go ahead and explain this to them. And hence this ayat completes that concept. So, let me bring you back. I lost track of time myself as we were battling with the sound system. That this ayat, it says, يَبْتَغِي. Ilm had come, you still neglected. You were told it's going to be cold outside, it's going to be raining outside, still you neglected the instructions. Now who are you going to blame it to? You're going to blame yourself. That's what this ayah is saying. That means what? Islam doesn't say that all the other religions, the followers of them are bound to Jahannam. No, that's not what Islam is saying. Although there are positions that are taken by scholars in this regard, but it's still kept in mind the ayat would say, no, if the Ahlul Kitab followed their religion, followed the ahkam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant them the paradise. Nothing. So from this aspect, Islam is not against that pluralism. That was the point that we made last night. Sorry, I had to recap that once again. But the word that is worth explaining, which I want to explain tonight, and inshallah I'll bring it towards close. It says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ. There's enough debate on the word Islam. Have you understood what Islam is? What is Islam? Islam, Maulana, comes from the root word salama, which means peace. From it we also say assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. Islam is the religion of peace, and therefore it is called Islam. Man aslama, aslama yuslimu, Islam. And that's what the word literally means. So that's one meaning of it, that Islam is the doctrine and the religion brought by the Prophet. But the other meaning of the word Islam is submission. Therefore, again, it opens up the doors for others, those who are not Muslim by religion, as long as they are submissive to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, look at the ayat which talks about when Hazrat Ibrahim and Hazrat Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, when they cleansed the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they were ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go ahead and clean his house, and طهر بيتي للطائفين والعاكفين والركع السجود. You go ahead and clean the house. For those who are going to do tawaf here, those who are going to establish the prayer here. What do they make the dua? رَبَّنَا وَجَعَلْنَا مُسْلِمَيْنِ لَكَ. Allah, make me and my son Muslimain, true Muslims. What does that mean? There's no religion of Islam per se. Prophet is still yet to announce that. Hundreds of years later, what Hazrat Ibrahim and Hazrat Ismail are asking for is the submission, that we are submissive towards your command. And then the second word that is worth mentioning in this ayah is the word deen, and I'll conclude with this. It says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا. What is this deen? Deen is a set of ahkam. Deen is something which is an obligation upon you. But how I explain deen to our community, our kids rather, is that deen is the name of, anyone remembers? 3 A's, right? Remember that? 3 A's. Triple A. Not the company, triple A. 3 A's. First A is your ahkam, the do's and the don'ts. Second A is your aqaid, the belief system. And third A is akhlaq. Right? You have these 3 A's, you have the other. These 3 A's cover all aspects of your being. Being is these 3 A's. If you have ahkam, you have deen. If you have aqaid, aqidah, it's solid, you have deen. And if you have these 2 but you lack akhlaq, you don't have deen. There are many people who are scholars, ulama, knowledgeable, yet they lack akhlaq. Akhlaq is the mukammil of these 2. So 3 A's, especially the younger ones over here. If someone asks you, what is deen? You tell them it's 3 A's. Ahkam, aqaid, and that's your deen. Now when you know what deen is, just one sentence to understand how important this deen is. So that we can connect ourselves with the objectives of Karbala. We all know Sayyidina Shuhada, right? Imam Hussein. We are gathered here to commemorate every single year in the month of Muharram. Do I really need to explain to you Imam Hussein's seerah? Maybe yes, because we don't know all aspects of Imam's seerah. In fact, tonight I'm going to recite the ahadith that you have heard a great deal before already. Nothing new. For example, you've already heard the hadith, Hussein al-Minni, Maulana Hussein. I told you I'm going to recite the hadith that you already know. Hussein is from me and I'm from Hussein. Or when Rasulullah says, Man ahabba Husaynan, ahabba Allah. Ahabba Allah, man ahabba Husaynan. Allah loves those who love Hussein. Or that famous hadith, Inna Husayna, Misbah al-Huda. Many people repeated it. Or when Rasulullah says, Inna al-Hasan al-Hussein, Sayyida Shabab al-Jannah. And like this, there are many other hadiths that Hussein is from me and I'm from Hussein. Whoever loves Hussein, Allah loves him. Hussein is the torch of guidance and art of salvation. Hussein is someone who is amongst the leaders of Jannah. Hussein, we understand who he is. Hopefully. We know the maqam of Imam Hussein. The beginning part of the speech was just to elevate and understand the maqam of Imam Hussein. The maqam of Imam, when that is understood, the maqam of Imam Hussein could be understood. If you were to rate Imam Hussein, he's up there. Now, if Hussein is up there, and he is willing to sacrifice himself for someone else, that means what? That other person is much higher. If Hussein is willing to sacrifice himself for something else, that means that thing is much higher. That's what deen is. You understand the deen? It's a kullu shay'in halik illa wajha. Everything will perish except the face. When asked in riwayat, what is the face? Allah doesn't have a face. Is a face here means deen. Everything will perish except the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because the deen is the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you understand the maqam of Imam Hussein, now you understand the maqam of his deen, for which Imam is sacrificing himself. If Imam is up there, but he yet still goes, and to the extent, Rawayat mentioned, Bibi Zainab says after the events of the martyrdom in Karbala, she said, if 70 Husseins are sacrificed for this deen, it still is worth it. 70 Husseins. Not just one. There's one Hussein is sacrificed. This is not, na'udhu billah, belittling Imam Hussein. Imam is still up there. This is just showing the heights of the deen for which Imam is standing. To now appreciate this religion, this deen has not come to us with ease. Many lives were given. Sacred lives were given. Hayat al-Tayyibah, Tayyib lives were given and shed for the sake of this religion. And that's the reason Imam is now forced into leaving the city of Makkah to Muharram. Makkah was a sanctuary. I already highlighted that. Makkah is a place where Imam had come to find safety and security. Initial reason for coming to Makkah, so that his family will be safe. But now Imam sees that even this Makkah is not a sanctuary anymore. These bloodthirsty people are not going to spare the life of him. They will go ahead and kill Imam even if they have to, even in this sacred land. As I mentioned before, this sacred land where taking a life, taking and killing an animal is not permissible. Here you see that Imam Hussein in his life. Imam gathers his family and he starts to leave the city of Makkah on the 8th day of Zulhijjah. You know, it's irony, Imam is exiting Makkah while pilgrims are entering. Right? 7th and 8th of Zulhijjah, those who live close by Makkah, they are making their way into the city of Makkah. If you're going for Hajj, usually the first 5-6 days you spend in Medina, and then you come to Makkah on the 6th or the 7th day of Zulhijjah, right? So you can start the manasik of Hajj, which begin from the 9th day of Zulhijjah. Here, Imam is leaving on the 8th day without performing Hajj, converting his Hajj into Umrah and exit. But here, people are coming and telling Imam, don't go to Makkah. Why? Their hearts might be with you, but their swords are against you. You know what Imam says? He shows them the letter that he has received. And he still hasn't heard back from his Safir yet. So Imam can't leave Muslim al-Naqid hanging in Kufa without him. Imam continues this journey. He goes through different maqamat. Many places that Imam goes through are worth mentioning. One of them is Sharaf. One of them is Mubalagh. And other places. At one place, Imam stops. He falls asleep. And when he wakes up from the dream, he tells his son Abi Akbar that Maut is fast approaching us. Maut is fast approaching us. Son, like father, says, oh Baba, are we on haqq? Imam said, absolutely. Are they on batil? He said, absolutely. If Allah Ubadi, then there's nothing wrong. If the maut comes upon us, or if we come upon it. Imam tells his, even at that point, some Rawayat mentioned that Imam tells his companions that we are going to die. If you want to leave, it's okay for you. But no, these are the companions of Imam. Imam goes through different manazil. I will mention the manzil where he needs to go. Inshallah, will be recite the Masai. But then eventually, after going through all of these different manazil, Imam comes to a place where his horse refuses to go any further. The horse refuses to go any further. Imam changes another horse. Even that horse refuses to go further. The Rawayat mentioned that Imam had changed 7 different horses. All of them refused to move. You know when was the other occasion when the horse refused to move forward? When Imam was going to Makkah. When Imam was going to Makkah, the horse was refusing to move forward. Why? Because Imam, when he looked down onto the hooves, he saw that his young daughter, Sakina, is by the feet of the horse. But that was not the case over here. On the second day, we are technically on the second night of Masjid-e-Ali. On the second day of Muharram, Imam ﷺ arrives in this land where his horse is refusing to go forward. Imam asks the people, what is this place? Someone says, this is Nainawab. Imam said, there must be another name. Someone says, this is Shaqir Furat. Imam says, is there another name for it? And this old man comes out and he says, yes, sir. This place is also called Karbala. The Qafla Husseini, the caravan of Imam ﷺ, arrived in Karbala on the second day of Muharram. Imam ﷺ, when he hears the name Karbala, Imam says by crying out loud, Hada Karbun wa Bala. Ha huna, this is Karbala and this is Bala. And this is the place where my children will be killed. And this is the place where our blood will be spilled. This is the place where our women will be separated and their veils will be snatched from them. Ajrukum Allah. May Allah give you no grief, no sorrow, except the grief and the sorrow of Ahlul Bayt. Yes, officially, brothers and sisters, Hussein and his caravan has arrived in Karbala. The Masai were only beginning. They only stayed here for 9 days. But how difficult were these 9 days? From the second day of Muharram until the 7th day. At least they had their food, they had access to water, إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Oh Allah, please accept our ibadah tonight. Oh Allah, we've committed a lot of sins. Please forgive our sins. Oh Allah, give us the tawfiq and ability to follow the commands and teachings of our guide, alayhi salatu wassalam. Oh Allah, make us understand the objectives of Imam Hussain. Oh Allah, make us follow the objectives of Imam Hussain from Karbala. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of Imam for time and make us amongst the helpless and the soldiers of Imam. Wa akhiru da'wana, and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Ma tabi'ul Hussain.